All right, looks like Curtis is here, so we can start. Um, but no, I figured get on here and try again. Let's do another live stream. It seems all weird getting it started and stuff, but then it seems like as I get going and talking to people, it seems more familiar, and I don't want to end it, but then I have to go do stuff. Anyways, so here we go again. And maybe people will come in. But I see Curtis is there, so welcome in. I was kind of thinking about it beforehand, what would I talk about in this stream? How people plan out what they're going to talk about and stuff. I never can think of anything before the stream, and then after it's over, there's a ton of things. I'm like, I should talk about this. I should talk about that. But like one thing that came to mind was like it seems like the hobby goes in like phases. Like in the 90s, it was big like African Malawi cichlid stuff, and then they went to like little tiny nano fish. It's like what's going to be the next big thing? What are we going to next? Maybe Plecos is the next big thing. I see a lot of people going after like cories, and they keep discovering new species of cories. So maybe that's the thing. And here I am stuck just in my live bear little zone and keeping different live bear guppies and platies and limias and all of that. And some people like them and some people don't. But skullface cories also, yeah. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Cories, I think Madakas are going to be a big thing because it seems like they, at least around here, they got to where they were really easy to find and everybody was getting them, and then they just disappeared. That nobody's got any anymore, but everybody's wanting them. And then cories, they've come up with all the hundreds of CW numbers and the different variations that they have. That's a wild thing. I've got a couple species of cory. I've never really been into cories, but I tried some and they're okay. Like I've got some in this tank right over here, and as I walked by a minute ago, the whole colony or school or whatever you call them, it's sitting all on one rock. I'm like, that's weird. But recently got into dwarf crayfish, another rabbit hole for me. Yeah, it seemed like shrimp was a really big thing for a while, and then it kind of died down. And there's a few people that's really into shrimp, but not as many as was. And crayfish, they're to me, they're neat, but it seems like there's a risk thing there too. I had a couple of the blue ones, and they like to. People I got from they don't mess with guppies or anything, but they like to mess with my guppies. And then I had one that decided it was going to dig down under my underground filter plate and live under there. And then the legality of them in certain areas are questionable, and cross the state lines with them and all that stuff. But it sounds like a neat rabbit hole to go down. I thought about doing the snail thing, but I don't know about that. The snails seem like the ones that I'm not wanting to get, I do really good at, but the ones that I do want to breed and keep and stuff like that, they didn't get the memo that I'm good at keeping all these other types of snails. Oh, the dwarf crayfish are about the same size as adult female shrimp. Huh. That's wild. That would be like a really cute little crayfish. I don't know if I've ever seen those, or if I've seen them, I thought that they were like just juvenile, regular crayfish, I guess. And then welcome in June. Shrimp are difficult in my water. I can keep everything I want. Cannot keep everything I want. My phone doesn't like how I hit the buttons on it, and it tries to autocorrect words from the correct spelling to completely different words. And so I understand that. And it's like I did really good with shrimp, keeping many varieties of them. And I don't know if they changed something in my local water or what happened, but then all of a sudden, I've only got like, I think maybe one tank that's doing good with shrimp, and then another tank that has like one or two stragglers hanging on. So I don't know if they changed something in the water or what it is, but yeah, I used to do really good at shrimp, and then all of a sudden something happened. Skipper came in. Welcome, Skipper. M&C Aquatics. Welcome. Yeah, so, and what kind of sparked me to this was kind of thinking about it's warm outside, and so I'm thinking about tubbing season and what do I want to put out in the tubs, and then if I put stuff, the problem I come up with is I put stuff in tubs, which empties out a tank in here, so that means I put more stuff in here, and then when fall comes, I got the tub stuff that needs to come in while somebody's living in their house, but it's what do I want to put out in the tubs was sort of thing Madocas, and I'm kind of on a barb kick right now for some reason. Looks like Steven came in. Welcome, Steven. Cheryl came in. Welcome. There's Fish Fam Lenny. It is nice to see people actually showing up. And I keep telling myself every week, it's like, nobody's going to be there. I'm going to sit there and talk to myself. But it's nice to see people showing up and getting to have kind of a two-way conversation. I mean, I'm the only one that I can hear talking, but I get the text side of it coming through. Let's see. June says, I did okay when I used a Euro tank. It was getting too expensive to keep going. And then Curtis says, I have tubs sitting on the patio, empty, just getting ready. I've got maybe 2 or 3 that are ready from previous years. The rest of them all decided they were going to bust. Apparently going the cheap route and buying the cheap tubs wasn't the way to do it because they didn't hold up more than 1 year. But I've got an idea in my mind. I saw somebody's post or video or something where they used the 27-gallon like plastic totes, the black ones with the yellow lids, and they built like I've used those as temporary tanks before, and they bow with water. But this person built like a wooden frame around it, and so I'm kind of leaning towards doing something like that, and then of course using the 2 or 3 that I have available also. But putting focus on tubs this year. Like last year, I completely forgot that I had fish in a tub. I blinked and summer was gone, and was surprised that they bred. June says she talks to herself. I talk to myself too, and I guess that's a good thing with the whole video thing here is if I talk to myself and I'm on camera, then I've got an excuse, right? And Ryan's here. Welcome in, Ryan. Slow day Sundays for me apparently are a busy day, and I just didn't realize it. I'm always on the go. I've been all over the country again today, and then got this stream, and then I've got 3 places to be at 8 o'clock today. So I got to be in 3 different places at once. That's been fun. But it's where I decided to dig out an hour to be able to stream because I get nervous or anxious, or whatever, setting up the stream that, oh, nobody's going to show up. I don't know what I'm talking about, all that stuff. But then I really enjoy doing it. June says pufferfish has got her focus and she can't resist the goofy eyes. I hear you on that. One of the local stores has a Fahaka puffer, and it stares me down every time I go in there. It wants me to buy it really bad. But I know I don't have a tank large enough for Fahaka, and it's one of those things of, do I get it and then set myself up with a commitment of I need to get a bigger tank in the future, knowing that this thing's going to grow bigger? And it's hard to say no to this fish addiction. Looks like Steven has his tub set up and fertilized. Paradise fish are breeding, and leaves from the lilies. That's awesome. If I lived in a climate that would allow me to already have tubs out and stuff going, I would be having fun with it. I was thinking the other day, what if I lived in Florida or Louisiana or somewhere that it was warmer than here? It was almost, I think it was like in the mid 50s, almost 60 degrees today. And it was like 70 this past week, a couple of days. And then I think it's supposed to get down cold again. So it hasn't made up its mind. Benjamin Peters, I don't think I have to say hi to you yet. Welcome in. I don't feel like I've done a great job promoting the bash. I think that I could do a larger job doing it, but there's a lot of people working on it, and there's more people out there putting ads out and stuff like that. I put a few out and stuff, but time slips away from me. Brian says he had a few locals come over to get some fish. Amazing how fast they can swim when you try to catch them. Yes, I picked up some fish as we'll call it a rescue. Somebody said they were going to get rid of them one way or the other, that if I wanted them, come get them. And just a couple fish in a bucket. You would think that would be easy to net out, but apparently I'm just not coordinated enough to catch fish in a bucket. Pepling Creek is here. Welcome, Brian. The last fish is always the smartest at resisting the net. I like the ones that aren't smart and swim directly in the net when you stick the net in the tank. Those are awesome fish. Benefit of living in the swamp is being able to swim. Hey, I can see it. I can see there could be some downsides to living in a swamp, but I see some good sides to it too. Ryan had 75 degrees yesterday and 32 today. Yeah. I'm glad Nancy's up there promoting. I just read Steven's comment about me and Nancy promoting the bash. I'm glad she's out there promoting it, telling people about it, because I don't get to make all the streams and stuff that she gets to make and talking about it. I didn't see Jeff pop in here, but I was going to say I've heard Jeff talk about it also. But welcome in, Jeff. But I think it's going to be a really good event, and not to turn it into a bash Bluegrass Bass stream, but I've got a meeting about it coming up later tonight. That's one of the places I have to be at 8 o'clock. And they were talking about we've got, you can say, a record number of people registered, and they've got some more stuff to talk about at the meeting tonight. So I like to be able to see the progression of it building and all that kind of stuff. So that's neat to me, and I'm excited for it. I'm ready for June. Besides just the bash, it's gonna be summertime. I'm gonna have my tubs out. But yeah, I don't know what I want to tub this year. Probably throw the Odessa bars back out there. Probably the White Clouds. And then if I find Madocas, I'll put some of those up there. I thought about trying flagfish or like Steven said, paradise fish. I haven't bred either flagfish or paradise fish. And from what people tell me, they will do it in a tub pretty easily. But I guess I've got 3 months before it's quote unquote safe to put fish out. I'll probably get them out sooner than that. It drags getting up to the date to put them out. And then once it gets there, it seems like just time flies even faster. And then like last year, I think I commented earlier that I blinked and it was time to bring them in. Getting sleet too, that's crazy. I'm done with all the snow. I don't want any more snow, any more sleet, any more ice. Having to basically ice skate from the house out here during that 2-week weather fiasco mess. That was more than I wanted. Yeah, I've got the meeting on the bash this evening. And then next weekend, I got to go give a presentation down in Nashville and then giving one in Louisville on Sunday. So I'll go to do the stream on Sunday. And so that's going to be an interesting time traveling to the. Now, this year works out where their second Sunday and first Saturdays on the same weekend. So instead of just going to a fish club each weekend, those two I'm hitting on the same weekend, because if I'm off for one of them, I'll be off for the other one. Yeah. Yeah, the news of Keith, it caught me by surprise. I mean, I knew that he wasn't doing well, but I don't know. It was a surprise to me. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. Even out here in the fish ring, going around just trying to do stuff, I see the botanicals and the easy caves and stuff that I got from him and just start thinking about it again. But if I knew how to build like the web page where that I've mentioned before, like the Fish Fan Memorial page with like links to the people's channel that have passed away, or maybe a little picture of them or something like that, I would do it. But I don't have the technical know how to do that. But I think that would be something awesome, because I've been doing fish YouTube since 2012, and the number of people that I'd be in the chats talking to and stuff like that have passed away. There's quite a few of them, and there's a number of them that people coming in now or that have come in during my run of doing YouTube, that those people have never heard of the other people that have passed away, or they won't get to know them. It would be nice if it was made. I mean, I'm not, trying to twist anybody's arm or anything like that, but it's it's just one of those things. You like to remember the people that can't join you anymore. Definitely too many over the years. And it seems like, at least I think, okay, there was a bunch of people that passed away. We're going to get a break from it for a while. It needs to balance out, and then you hear about somebody else. And besides the YouTube fish community and the larger fish community, we're losing people there too. And I go to multiple clubs and hear about people in the clubs passing away, and it's just not fun. I keep looking down this way because the fish room, besides being a fish room, or the fish building, besides being a fish room for this month and being like a storage spot on that side, it's working as a chick brooder for a month. So I got little baby chickens running around my feet down here. They're enclosed, but still I got little cheep noises and scurrying around. But that's another project for this year's getting back into chickens. I haven't done chickens in, it's probably been 10 years at this point. But I decided to go ahead and take the leap and do it again. And if I'm building stuff for tub stuff outside, and build a chicken pen while I'm at it. The world is aging and changing, definitely. The people in it and just the culture as a whole. You can see like the restaurants that have been around for decades and decades, they look completely different now than they did back then. And it's, that's kind of back. I've been into fish since I was little. But in college, I was thinking, what's something that I can do that isn't going to change a whole lot? They aren't going to invent a new this thing because I dealt in cell phone sales, and we would get the new cell phone in, and then in 6 months it was obsolete and there was a new one coming out, and I didn't like that. And one of the things I thought was like, fish, they're not inventing any more fish. Well, little did I know, they're discovering new species all the time, and apparently a certain company out there is inventing new species with their genetic modification thing, which technically on the government's eyes, they're not species, they're not even a living thing, but that's a different topic. Looking at it, Curtis says he's looking at a chicken coop at Home Depot. The wife said no. I glanced at the ones they've had, like Tractor Supply, and Lowe's here has some. And I look at it, and what they have there is they've got they said hold like 8 chickens. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, and 8 chickens is going to take this much room. Okay, they might can hold 8 chickens if they're standing shoulder to shoulder, but so I just went with, I'm going to attempt to build one in the most redneck fashion that I can. So it will be interesting, and hopefully it doesn't collapse on the chickens. Cheryl can't have chickens. The last place that I lived, it was a confusing place. It said that the city said that you had to have a permit to have chickens. So I went to the city hall to get a permit to get chickens. And it was a mess. They didn't know what I was talking about. The lady says, well, I can give you a permit for a swimming pool. Is that what you want? And long story short, they didn't know how to do a permit for chickens. And they weren't going to say anything about the chickens if I wanted to do chickens. So I started to put chickens in and stuff like that. And life happened before the chickens arrived or the coop got built. So that's been about 6 years now, I guess. So I figured I'd try it here. Found some on Temu cheap. Was thinking about a 40 roof. I've never ordered anything from Temu, and I never previously ordered anything from Temu, and I just placed my first order just to test it, and ordered like a little air pump for the aquarium just to see, does it actually show up? Do they drain my bank account? Does an elephant show up instead of an air pump? Because some people have mixed results. Some people say, yeah, they do great. Other people say, oh, no, you ordered an air pump, you're going to get sunglasses. So we'll see when it shows up, whenever it shows up, if it shows up. Skull says he can have chickens, but not a rooster. Here, legally, I can have whatever. I can have a cow in my backyard if I wanted. The neighbor like 2 or 3 houses down has goats and sheep, and up above me, there's somebody's got chickens and roosters. But I don't think at this point I want to mess with a rooster. Just start with hens and go from there. I might get a rooster down the road. Apparently, a flock, or whatever you call a group of vultures, has moved into the wood line behind my house. They're not eating anything. They're just hanging out in the trees. There are like 50 of them. It's kind of creepy looking. But so maybe I would need a rooster. I don't think they would attack chicks, but maybe they would. Definitely going to build the pen as predator proof as I can. Cheryl says we can have chickens in the city, no problem. Our male German Shepherd catches squirrels, so chickens would be a snack for him. I had rabbits once that I guess the rabbits, I don't know, I'm guessing the rabbits escaped, and then the dog caught the rabbits and played with them a little too rough. Because I don't think the dog was getting the rabbits out of the rabbit pen, but I don't know how the rabbits was getting out of the pen. It's like one of the little wooden hutch things. I don't know how it was getting out of there either. Brian says he'd raise deer, but chickens would be easier. Deer sound fun. If I could keep any animal, like if I had a large farm and stuff, deer would be one of them. I would still go back to ostrich. And one of it may have been my stream, it might have been somebody else's stream, I don't know. But we were talking about eggs. And I'm like, ostriches seem cool. Keep an ostrich. Or a flock of ostrich, herd of ostrich, something. There was a farm not far from here that had a bunch of ostrich, that had probably alpacas or llamas or whatever they were, and they kept zebra. So it looked like a safari running around down in there. But that was neat. They're not there anymore. I don't know if they moved or what happened. It'd be neat to have ostrich. You know, if you could sell a dozen chicken eggs for say $3, a dozen ostrich eggs. I mean, that would have to be like big money, right? I don't know if anybody ever buy them. Speaking of selling eggs, apparently you can sell fish eggs. I didn't think anything about it, but I've taken rainbow eggs and killifish eggs to fish club auctions past couple months and have sold the fish eggs. I saw someone doing it at another club auction that they brought in rainbow eggs and killie eggs and sold them. I thought, all right, I got rainbows and killies laying eggs. Let's try it. And apparently it's a thing. And people buy them. So I might have to do that more often. Want the Stephen P to send some gators. I saw a pet store here selling gators once. You know, granted they have been illegal for the past like 50 years. This specific pet store didn't care if something was illegal. You go in there and you could find gators, you could find piranha, which are illegal here. They had the cane toads and might have even had some questionable arowana at one point. Skipper says chicken eggs that you get from backyard are better. Definitely. And I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend. I said, what color are the yolks of the eggs that you buy at the store? She's like, well, egg yolk's yellow. I said, it's not supposed to be. You know, the darker the yolk, the healthier the egg. And I'm like, just wait till you taste eggs from chickens that are actually cared for, like farm fresh eggs from your backyard or from a farm or something like that. It's a whole other ballgame. Let's see, Jeff says, what club am I supposed to buy tickets under? You mean like the drop down menu in there where it says like ALA, ACA, or IBC? It doesn't matter. What that is like at the Triple Crown, they had 3 different websites that you go buy tickets at whichever one you wanted the money to go to. With what they're doing now is it's all on one website and the toggle down option. If you want, because what they're going to do is a portion of the money will go to the local club, so like to the Bluegrass Club that's hosting it, and a portion of it will go to the national club. So you go in there and you select, do you want your national club portion to go to the ALA or the cichlids or the betas, or I think there's an I don't care option. And you just pick which one of those and it will flag that portion of that ticket to go to whichever one you choose. So if you're really into live bears, pick live bears. If you're really into cichlids, pick cichlids. You get the same perks either way, whichever one you pick. It's just, it helps on the accounting side of it to tell them which group to send which money to. Definitely get your ticket if you haven't. And if you haven't got the room, I think they said that of the 200, I think there's 290 rooms. Of 290 rooms, 100 of them have been booked already. So that's something that if you haven't done that yet, you might want to jump on that. Steven says baby gators are adorable. And I guess I'm gullible or didn't know any better, whatever. I guess I didn't know any better. Years ago when I was young, much younger, I was probably early teenage, I had a friend that lived down in Slidell, Louisiana. And it didn't click in my head that Louisiana has gators. Okay, so I knew that Louisiana had gators. But I guess I thought they were like off somewhere else, they wouldn't be in a subdivision. You know, like you go to the French Quarter and they're selling gator meat and stuff like that. And I didn't think anything about it. But my friend was, she had a pet potbelly pig that she was taking out in the backyard for a walk. And there was a gator at the edge of the property waiting. And it was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it to, a gator to just walk up into somebody's yard. What's the IBC? That's the International Beta Congress. It's kind of like the ALA is for live bears and the ACA is for cichlids, but this is for betas. They do wild type betas and domestic beta splendid types. So if you're really into betas, that's a national organization for that. If the P's do go out collecting gators, it definitely needs to be video. I don't know the legality of collecting gators, but it definitely needs to be video just for us to watch. Which club is least likely to show up late? I don't know. And that's something else that'll be, I think you're referring to like what at the Triple Crown where you had to go to your like the rainbow table or the killifish table or the library table to register. This time it's one registration table. Everything's, you know, if you registered through whichever one, it's all at the same table. Just trying to make things work better together. Because the Triple Crown they saw as 3 or 4 just completely independent. They just happen to be in the same building. And then afterwards, with the reviews of it, of the people that went, you know, debriefing or whatever you want to call it, or they're talking about how it went, they're like, okay, let's not do it like that again. And so every year since that, when they've had a combined one, it has, in my opinion, got a little better as far as their organization. Adorable until you start missing a finger. Yeah, I can see that. Or an arm. Okay. Torso or head or whatever. Jeff has a room, just not the tickets. Okay. Well, the room is like if I'm picking what I got to do, if I got enough money to do one or the other for now, the room would be the first thing. And then because the tickets, you know, you can get them. They are going to go up as we get closer to the event, but, you know, you're still fine for a while. Pace of backwoods folks to go collect the eggs. I have seen some videos of people collecting the eggs, and I think collecting the eggs is more dangerous than actually like catching the gators. Parts of the I-10 has chain link fence to keep them off the highway. Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Just driving along and a gator just up and across the road, just lays down in the middle of the road to sun itself. Strangest thing I've seen on a road was a cow running right down the road. Cheryl says the IBC would be dangerous for her. I could see that. If you're into the betas, the wild types, and or the domestic ones, there is such a variety on it. And I was counting, I think their show, because the cichlids have a fish show, the live bears have a fish show, and the beta group has a fish show. And I think that their fish show had like 50 different categories that you could enter in. It was either 50 or 80, it was a lot. Because, you know, different tail shapes on the domestics, and then you have your mouth brooding wild types and your bubble nest wild types, and there was so many different varieties that you could enter in their show. Where the cichlid people this year have tried to streamline it, which they didn't want to do a show at all, and they got some nudging. Said we got to do a show, so they streamlined it into 3 categories, and I think the library is like 20. But I'm interested to see the shows. People showing fish. Like I see species in those things that I've never seen before, and some of them once I see them at the show on display there, I never see them after that. Ryan's in search of a bobcat skid steer for his next fish tank. Are you turning the skid steer into a tank? You're moving the tank with a skid steer, or you're digging like a hole to put the tank in or make the tank? All 3 sound interesting. And there's Zen Ginger. Welcome, welcome. Doing our usual thing of just rambling, talking about, tubbing and the bash and Stephen P. Distributing gators, possibly. Jeff says, I didn't know how the ticket split would or wouldn't. That's all that is it doesn't mean that you can only go to certain presentations or that you get a different goodie bag or thing. Everybody gets the same goodie bag. Everybody can go to the same presentation stuff. It just, for ease of numbers, let's say they split the money 50-50. And if they got $1,000, if 500 of it is allotted for the ALA and 250 to the IBC and 250 to the ACA, I forget which ones I've said already, but then they notice in that 500 to the ALA, just by who's clicked which buttons. Oh, the skid steer's for a bigger hole in the yard. I have looked a few times at buying one of those little mini excavators. No project in mind, just I think that would be cool to like tear my backyard up. My backyard's a hill, basically. And I would just go in like a kid in a sandbox, just dig. And then I realized, I would like dig under a tree and it would fall on me or something, and that wouldn't be good. But yeah, I would put big holes in my yard. I'd lose the excavator down in it, or the car down in it, or something. Cheryl says, I'm taking whip, some beta Eumaculatus in June. I have accomplished to turn him to the dark side. Whip seems like he's switching more to small fish. But that seems like that was one of the phases that the fish hobby went through. Also, it's like you had like the 90s, people were keeping all the African cichlids, and there was the phase that people were getting like the huge cichlids and the red-tailed cats and the big fish. Forget who it is. It may have been Randy from Aquarium Co-op that said, you had to have, like in the 80s, you had to have the Oscar in the 55-gallon tank. Like, everybody had to have a Trans Am in the driveway. Thank you, Zen, for the link to the Bluegrass Bash tickets. And Ryan says the German Shepherd digs holes, it's not big enough for the koi. And that's where my doctor agrees. My doctor like miniature koi. We've got a speaker coming this month to my local club to talk about Medaka, and I wonder if they're going to use like a reference like that, because I talked to him before and it was like, Badaka rice fish are kind of like a mix between guppies, that they're that size and they breed really good and all that kind of stuff, and mix between the guppies and the koi, because you eat from above, and then you keep them outside, cool water tolerant. Jeff still needs a Trans Am in the driveway. Growing up, that was like my ideal car. I wanted a Trans Am, preferably a Firebird, but I never got one. I got close to getting a Monte Carlo, and the person I was getting it from blew it up. Apparently, they didn't believe in oil changes, so that's something else there. Closest I've ever got to a Trans Am was a Grand Am. I owned one of those once. Zen Ginger said, especially the red cat Medaka, they really look like teeny tiny koi. Yeah, and the way that the whole Medaka thing's going, they get the patterns on them. They're using the Japanese names. They're restricting import from Japan from them. Like a lot of the Medakas that are coming in now, or up until now, are having to get exported to Korea, and then Korea kind of sneaks them to the U.S. because apparently the people in Japan didn't want Americans to get this higher quality Medaka. But now I guess they found out, and they're starting to export to the U.S. There you go. Ryan's got a Firebird in the driveway. Charger, yeah. Charger, Challenger. Well, people, we did it. We said Whip's name too many times. Welcome in, Whip. Says, yo, it's Select John on my YouTube device. Hi, you beautiful people. Let's get tanked. And it will be good to hopefully if all of you all aren't coming to the bash, we can convince you to come to the bash and then get to see everybody again. And the people that I haven't met, meet you all. Because it's awesome hanging out with people in person. On chat and seeing you on screen and stuff, that's good. But there's still a missing component there to be able to see people in person. Especially if you can see them more than once in a whole weekend. If you see them once, like passing in a presentation, and then they just disappear for the whole weekend, it's, you spend your time looking for them, never see them again. But when you can see them more than once in a weekend, that's awesome stuff. They paid taxes on it. Says my tickets to the bash, hotel room, are both booked. Good. So, Whip's planning on going. That's good news. And he blames me as much for us passing one time on that weekend and not seeing each other again. And I think the OCA is the worst for that because they've got so many things going on at different places at the same time. They've got like the trips to the OFR and to the fish stores, and then you got your talks and your hospitality room and everything going on. And the room sales, I think, do a big part of that too. Because even this past year, when I thought there's a bunch of YouTuber people going and they decided not to go, and still the people that I was hanging out with, I kept missing them and had to finally just call and say, okay, where are you at? And we'd been following each other around and didn't even know it. Curtis has his room and he's working on the rest. Yeah, on the whole car thing, I wanted a sports car, a muscle car, that type of stuff. And then I gotta look at Corvettes and stuff now, but I realize it's just not practical. I've got 3 kids, so it's frowned upon when you put your kids in the trunk. So I gotta have, at least 4 seats in the car. And I'm bad about picking up tanks and fish equipment and stuff when I'm like driving home from work or whatever. So, having a vehicle I can throw a 55-gallon tank in is a benefit also. Which is part of why I bought my truck, but then it's been a pain in the butt to actually maintain running. But I think I've got that now. Cheryl's dad was a street racer when he was younger. Grew up around cars. Curtis says his kids are grown now; they can probably ride. My oldest one just started driving, so it's been one of those things of, hey, we're going to this place. Meet us there if you want to go. If you don't, okay. The other 2 have a few more years to go. Uh-oh, clicking buttons. Yeah, I'm glad to see. I think next weekend the time changes. Some days are going to get longer and stuff. I'm glad to see that because there's been days I've come home from work and it's been dark. I leave to go to work and it's dark, and that's just not fun. So I like to have some sunlight that I can go outside and actually work on tub stuff. And get the chicken coop built. I got to redo my little fish pond out there. The pump broke on it last year. So got some projects that I need to do when, it's not 4 degrees outside and the sun's up. And we got swaps coming up and auctions coming up and all kinds of fishy stuff. Welcome to the takeover. Yeah, I said Whip's got 3 months to get his beta tank set up and ready. I was looking up here. That's where my Petricola are. I thought maybe they were out swimming, but they're never out swimming. They're always hiding somewhere. I'll try breeding them before too long. Maybe they'll be like their parents and just like breed without them meaning to. Yeah, we'll get Whip converted over to all like nano fish before it's over with. They're easy to manage. Brian says if he gets a gator, it better have 4 wheels. I don't know. I guess it depends on who's bringing you the gator. That would be fun here too. The hill with the woods, just go run through it. Jeff says Nancy B said she's getting Mandy to attend the bash. I hope so. It's fun hanging out with everybody. Hopefully, I can get away from that like staff stuff. That's my biggest fear with like actually hosting a thing is I'll get tied up doing stuff and miss all the actual fun of hanging out with people. But I think I'll just kind of go AWOL if I have to go hang out. You know, the point is to have fun. They may never let me host another event, but we'll have fun with it. I'm gonna try to figure out how to like set up some cameras or something to stream and video. Just because, you know, I know there are people out there that can't get off work, can't get away from family, can't make the trip. And I like watching videos of events. So if I can figure out, you know, maybe I'll put a GoPro on me and I'll just wear it around the whole time. I don't know. Let's see. Whip says, yeah, that's no fun or responsibility. Is it? Yeah. Be up late. Yeah. That's one thing about the fish events, the fish conventions and shows and stuff is we stay up late. And at the Clash, I guess I did it too rough that Saturday night. Got up Sunday to go to the swap for the go to the auction. I'm sitting in that auction and the room just starts spinning and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna be here much longer. So I had to like go lay down. I stayed up way too late and I don't know. I don't know if I was like dehydrated or what it was, but the words were sounding weird. The room was like warping and stuff. I'm like, I had to go lay down. So I missed the auction at the Keystone Clash. Let's see. Zen says Nancy's tried valiantly, but my car needs a tune-up and a transmission overhaul before I can take it a long distance again. His truck is Performance Mopar, so it costs so much in gas. Performance Mopar, making a trip to Kentucky. That sounds like a fun trip. And if it's a truck, then it's probably got like a bed on it where it can haul stuff back when you get like the really good deals. I don't know. Yeah, the airport, I think they said it's just like either 7 minutes or seven. It's just down the road, at least on Arion. Skull was well hydrated. Oh, I think I skipped something. Ryan says quarantine and hospital tanks are required, and they are new tanks, so you need another 3. Yep. Zen says she can't fly anymore. Yeah. I try not to fly because I'm like crazy about control. I want control of what I do. And it gets in my head of like if I'm flying, I'm not in control. That something could go awry. Monolith Maven, Aquatics, welcome in. Yeah, welcome in. I didn't realize how late it was. I won't get to stay over much at all today. I gotta get some stuff done before my 3 8 o'clock appointments. I'm agreeing with Whip. I think the Bash will be, it's closer than the Clash. I think it's going to be if I do say so myself, a more fun event. More people's going to be there. Yeah, ride with vibes. And then when he gets so much free stuff that you know, he can send that with Skull. He can send his free stuff with Skull. Yeah, there's plenty of people from Texas that you can hitch a ride with. And this is the reason I've really tried. She's good. Guilty. You think Bob's would eat cottage cheese on the drive? Oh, maybe not. All right, I hate to, but I've got to go. It's after 7, and I've got a long list of stuff to do between now and 8 o'clock. When I'm going to try to do 3 different meetings / streams / stuff all at the same time. So if at 8 o'clock you're in a stream that I'm in the chat and I type something that doesn't make any sense, it's probably because I'm supposed to be typing in the wrong chat. It is only 6 there. I wish it worked that way, but I can't. There's an idea. Quit go live, videoing the water changes. Everybody hang out there, and I'll try to drop in there as I'm doing all my other stuff. But I do got to go. Thank you all for being here. It's been great. It's been the best part of the day. And I can't do it next week because I will be giving a presentation this time. So hopefully in 2 weeks, I'll get to do this again. So if I see that I can, I'll pop up a notification again. We'll see y'all later.